So this week's case that we've got is going to be slightly different to our normal cases because this week's case is in partnership with a brand called Uncovered.
Yes.
And Uncovered is a cold case platform. This is something like we've never really heard of before. Basically, it's a platform that combines data and analytics and actually just normal people, just everyday people's ideas and things like that. And this is to help solve the cases of either missing or murdered people. So basically, it's a website. You can have a look. It's called uncovered.com. And it's kind of like built a community of different people that specialize in different things. So maybe some people are really good with maps like you. Maybe some people are really good at, I don't know, digging up autopsies and looking through stuff like that, like I do. And it's basically combining everybody's sources of things that they found on particular cases. And they can ask questions about, look, we need to know a bit more about this. Can anybody look into this? And then you can sort of submit your own tips and help out. So if you are into true crime, but you'd like to get more involved into true crime, uncovered.com is the way to go. We have been really blown away by it. It's been really good, hasn't it, looking into it?
It has been. And we've had really great conversations with them.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to be working with Uncovered.
Yeah.
It's really, you said it well. It's crowdsourcing.
Basically,
cold cases, which is amazing, right? And I know there's other things out there that people use, right? You have like web sleuths or whatnot. But this seems like this is basically everything that you've wanted in a like true crime community, just kind of wrapped up together.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's really good. And they've sort of given us today's case for us to look at. And so obviously we're now going to present this to you and see what you think. And then at the end of this, if you can think of anything or you want to help out, you can go onto uncovered.com and see how you can get involved, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
I'm ready. Let's go. Tammy Zywicki is looking forward to starting her senior year at Grinnell College in Iowa. Before heading back, she takes a trip to drop off her brother at Northwestern, to visit her parents who are staying with family, and to see a friend. Tammy says goodbye to a friend and leaves for college. She never makes it back. Her body is found on the I-44, wrapped in a blanket. This is Crimepedia, and this is episode 47, Who Killed Tammy Zywicki? Okay, Morgan, so it's August 1992, and 21-year-old Tammy Jo Zywicki is about to start her senior year at Grinnell in Iowa. She grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, with two older brothers and a younger brother. Now, she was a slight girl. She's about 5'2", about 8.5 stone, which is 120 pounds in America. She was blonde. She had long, straight, quite thick blonde hair, really nice hair she's got, green eyes, and then these rounded, like wire-rimmed glasses, a bit like Harry Potter glasses, but not as thick on the edges.
Yeah.
So it's not the kind of thing I would normally see on a teenage girl, but it suits her. They're nice. On the 21st of August, Tammy and her younger brother Darren left their parents' home in New Jersey to go back to their respective colleges. And they were driving in a 1985 white Pontiac, which was her car. Darren attended Northwestern, and she was going to drop him off on the way to go back to Grinnell. Now, she also had a friend who was at Northwestern, so she planned to stay the night with her friend, to spend some time with her and hang out. Now, Tammy didn't need to be back at college until the 8th of September, but she wanted to go back to photograph the student athletes that were already practicing, ready for the new school term. So on the way, Tammy and Darren stop in Pittsburgh to see their parents, Hank and Joanne, who were visiting family. So they would go there, see the family, see mum and dad, and stay overnight with them before they carried on. Darren mentioned at the time that they had to stop the car a couple of times because the engine kept stalling. But once they added oil and water, it seemed to be running okay. They do make it to Evanston, Illinois, and Tammy drops Darren off. Now, she continues on to Grinnell and stayed the night with her friend. She left her friend's house around lunchtime. So she's dropped her brother off, stayed with her friend, left her friend's house around lunchtime. Darren checked the car before she left and said to her that if the engine light comes on again, you need to try and stop at a rest stop and see if you can get some help. So on the 23rd of August, between 3 and 4 p.m., witnesses report seeing Tammy's white Pontiac pulled over on the shoulder of the I-80. So this is, the I-80 is like Interstate 80 for anyone in England that doesn't understand. It's like our motorways. It's like our M roads. She is near mile marker 83, which is the exit for Utica. Is that the right way to say it?
Yep, that's
right,
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So she has the bonnet up, which is the hood over there. She has the hood up and she's there looking at the engine. And it seems that quite a lot of people saw her at the side of the interstate. So according to witnesses, there are about 26 cars stopped to help her.
26?
Yeah, apparently over 26 cars stopped to help her. And I think this to me was like strange because so why did 26 cars stop? Not one of those people could help her.
Exactly. Okay, first off, I'd question
if they actually
how do we know it was 26?
Yeah.
How do we know it was 26? Yeah. Or are these 26 people that came forward like, oh yeah, I stopped to give her help? That's
right.
Okay, so that's one. And then like you said, no one was able to do anything for her?
Well, strange, isn't
That's
it?
strange to me.
Now, see, according to a witness, this tractor and trailer was reportedly seen at the side of the road with Tammy. Now, this seems to be quite significant because police learned that this tractor trailer was one of the things that most people reported seeing. So it's a weird thing. The trailer had like 2 brownish orange diagonal stripes on the cab and on the trailer as well.
Okay.
And the driver was described as approximately 6 foot tall with dark bushy hair. And he was estimated to be between 30 and 45. I always think like trying to age someone is really difficult.
It is.
I think it's quite difficult. Now,
it is.
Tammy's parents, Joanne and Hank, were quite concerned when she didn't call to let them know that she'd arrived back at Grinnell. They expected to hear from her Sunday evening, and when they didn't, they assumed that maybe she'd just got caught up seeing friends and had sort of forgotten to ring, because it happens, doesn't it? It's forgotten to ring mum and dad and say, look, I'm back. Now, a truck driver, a guy called Robert Bullington, said that he saw Tammy get into the cab of a fellow trucker that he had met earlier that day. Now, Robert had met this guy called Jerry at a truck stop. They continued to communicate via CB, and they both saw Tammy on the side of the road. Jerry stopped and let Robert know, actually, she's okay. It's all good. You can go. He left and went on his way.
Yeah.
But remembered that when he saw the missing posters for her later on, he remembered this guy that he was talking to had actually stopped to help her and said that she was fine. So he had Nebraska plates on his truck. And Robert remembers he had Nebraska plates, but he doesn't know anything else about him other than the fact that he was called Jerry. So he doesn't really know anything about him. Now, this is one of those reports that doesn't really have a lot of substance to it. There's not really very much. It doesn't really say very much. So I'd be interested to see what Robert has to say about this man, because he met him at a truck stop. So they must have talked a bit, and he must obviously be able to give a description of this guy. But I couldn't find anything else that Robert had talked about.
Yeah.
He also says that this interaction between Tammy and this Jerry happened a lot later than all of the other sightings of Tammy at the side of the road. So this is after a lot of the other cars had reported seeing her. This guy reports that he had stopped and had met her, and he saw her get into the cab of this truck. So he could possibly be the last person that saw Tammy, after she went missing.
Yeah.
So after they still hadn't heard from her, Tammy's parents called her friends. They called the school. All of her friends had said, no, we haven't seen her. She's not been back. The school also then confirmed that she hadn't been back. And her family, no one had any idea where she was, which was highly unlikely for her to not be in touch with anyone from her family. So this was strange. Obviously, they all knew she was heading back to Grinnell. They knew she was going back to college. So it's a bit strange that she hadn't actually got in touch with anyone at all. So on the morning of August 24th, they made some calls to the Illinois and Iowa State Police. Now, the police initially weren't, we have this quite often with missing people cases. They weren't actually that bothered by it, and they were quite dismissive about the fact that they hadn't got hold of her. They said she had probably run off with a boyfriend. But Tammy's mum, Joanne, said, well, no, she doesn't have a boyfriend. So she hasn't run off with anybody because there's no boyfriend on the scene. But of course, the police are like, nah, she'll turn up, she's just a, young college girl. She'll be fine. But unfortunately, this was not the case. Now, the Iowa State Police called Joanne and Hank to let them know that they had towed Tammy's car off of the I-80. Apparently, the car had been abandoned at the side of the road and it was ticketed, and then it was pulled off of the interstate. Now, Tammy's parents, then when they found out that the car was abandoned, there was no sign of Tammy, they then filed a police report. And the police then started to think, okay, perhaps this isn't just a case of this girl going off with friends. So Joanne and Hank flew into Chicago so that they could be closer to this investigation, which was literally not happening at this point. The police had just sort of realized that something may be going on. But from what I can find through looking through this, there's nothing really to say that they did anything initially to help out. Tammy's parents did say, they've been reported to say that they did find the police very unhelpful. They told them there was no evidence of foul play. Tammy would be back. And then so Tammy's parents decided that they needed to do something. And if the police weren't helping them, they then decided to go to a missing persons group. And they were recommended to get the word out about Tammy to the media because they thought that the media would be the best place to sort of push this. Now, students at Northwestern University, where Tammy's brother was, and also at Grinnell College, passed out flyers. They put up posters. They volunteered to search for her. And by the 25th of August, Tammy had been missing for 3 days and there was no sign of her whatsoever. The police finally then decided that actually they would start searching for her and would then announce that they're going to actually start looking into this because they think that there is obviously foul play involved. It's crazy, isn't it? When you've got somebody like that, I mean, I understand the police probably do have a lot of cases where the parents ring up and they can't find the child and then, they turn up. But surely it's better to have it that way and to waste a little bit of police time than to not do that and then to waste valuable time of trying to find somebody.
Yeah.
I just think it might be better to just waste a little bit of time and the person's found safe and well than to not do anything and then you've lost valuable time before they get found,
I absolutely agree.
I mean, I know obviously I'm not in that situation being a police officer, but I'd rather be safe than sorry,
Yes. No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
So on the 31st of August, 9 days now after Tammy goes missing, the police announced that they're following up on leads of witnesses who saw her at the side of the road. Now, more than 60 people saw Tammy on the side of the road on that I-80 on August 23rd, and more than 26 different cars pulled over to help her. And they know that from the leads that they've chased up. So more than 60 people saw her. I mean, I don't know that area. I'm guessing the interstates are busy roads.
Yeah, that's gonna be busy. It's
and we've all done that. We've all driven down the motorway and seen someone broken down, and you don't stop. So
But 60 people.
Yeah, more than 60 people actually saw her. They came forward to say they saw her, but more than 23 actually pulled over to help her. They've got more than 26 people came forward to say that they pulled over to help. Now, on the 1st of September, 1992, a man pulls off the I-44 West. Now, this is obviously not the I-80. This is the I-44 West. And he is in a truck with tools in the back. And he pulls over to cover over his tools again because the back's come loose. And he sees something at the side of the road wrapped in a blanket. Now, from the shape of it, he knew it was a body straight away. So he then goes to the police station and comes back with an officer before touching it, which is a good shout, I think. Now, this I-44, I know you love map. This I-44 is 6 hours and 55 minutes away from where Tammy was last seen. It's 500 miles away.
Okay.
That's a fairly long way away from where she was.
You know what that tells me right away? Long haul driver. Easily, right?
Okay. So a long haul trucker.
Oh, easily. Yeah. I mean,
so I've got the map up here because I know how much you love map. And I put in the coordinates of where she was last seen on the I-80. And then I just sort of followed it down and it goes down through Illinois. Then it goes down through St. Louis. Is it St. Louis or St. Louis?
St.
Okay, so
Louis.
St. Louis. So it goes down through St. Louis, down past Springfield, past Missouri. So
Yes.
6 hours and 51 minutes. She was found a long
Okay.
way away from where she was
Yeah.
last seen.
So this is the like southwest corner of Missouri, right? So just east of Joplin, Missouri.
Okay.
Is where she's located.
Yeah.
This is so it's nowhere near where she was picked up.
If she was picked up on the I-80, if that was the case and she was picked up there, then yeah, she is a long ways down. A long, long ways down.
And here's the problem with this too, right? Is that we can make an assumption of how she got from I-80 down to 44. But there are multiple ways for someone to get there.
Yeah.
God, I don't know. This is really strange.
Now, she was last seen on the I-80 on the 23rd of August, okay? And he finds the body on the 1st of September, okay?
Okay, wait. Okay, so this is how many days? I got
10 days. So it's about 10 days later.
So 10 days later, okay.
He finds her. Now, the body was wrapped in a red blanket, which was made by the Kenworth Truck Company.
Yeah, okay.
So this is not something you can buy in a Walmart or in a normal shop anywhere. So this is a truck, like a truck blanket that she was she was found in. Now, the victim was a white female aged 18 to 24, wearing a blue t-shirt with an Eagles Eastside soccer logo, which was the name of Tammy's high school. So the victim had been stabbed 7 times in a circle around her heart. And had been sexually assaulted. Now, the pathologist indicated she'd been dead for between 4 and 7 days.
So whoever had her alive for a few days before.
It would seem so. So it was about 10 days since she was last seen by anyone. And the pathologist has said that they think that the girl had been dead between 4 and 7 days. So, I mean, 4 days, if it was 4 days, then obviously he's had her for quite a while before anything's happened. Now, retired Illinois State Police Special Agent Martin McCarthy said that the medical examiner had found this really strange array of puncture wounds all the way around her heart. So there's 7 of them. And the medical examiner said that she'd been stabbed with a small, sharp item, which caused internal bleeding. Now, I looked for her autopsy report and I couldn't find if that was the cause of death. There wasn't anything to say exactly what the cause of death was, but that obviously caused internal bleeding. She also had a puncture to her right arm as well with this weird little like contraption that whatever is used. Now, dental records were used to confirm that the body was Tammy's, because now I've read different reports. I've listened to a few podcasts that have covered this, and I've read a few different reports, and in some reports, it says that the body is very, very badly decomposed. And in other reports, it says that the body is slightly decomposed. Now, dental records were used to confirm that the body was Tammy's. Now, I understand in August in that area is very, very hot. So I would imagine there would be a significant amount of decomposition. And obviously, they're not going to bring a family member in to identify her like that. So dental records were used. Now, her family weren't convinced because she was wearing different clothes to when she was last seen. Now, this is another thing that I found was a bit strange, and I found lots of different people saying lots of different things. Now, she was wearing the blue school, like high school t-shirt, this Eagles Eastside soccer logo. Now, underneath that, she was reported to be wearing lacy underwear and a pink bra with the word love embroidered on the cup. Now, this didn't match up with Tammy's like tomboy style. She didn't usually wear lacy stuff, and she didn't usually wear pink.
Oh, okay.
So I'm getting from that I mean, we've got it from a really good source that Tammy's family weren't convinced because she was wearing different clothes. I think this is by this they mean the undergarments were not her clothes, because she was wearing the body that was found was wearing her her logoed high school t-shirt, but they're saying she was wearing different to when she was last seen.
That's really strange. I mean, if she was wearing someone else's undergarments, as you would say, that is extremely strange.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, I have some thoughts on why.
Yeah.
Why he'd be wearing someone else's. I'm assuming that she probably had some clothes with her in her car with her, right? She was going back to college. So that would tell me that she probably had some other undergarments with her that would be her own.
So her watch, her camera, her purse, her wallet, and her original clothes have never been found. So they weren't left in her car. She didn't leave them in her car to get into a car with somebody else. So she would have taken them with her. So whoever's car she got in, she took her own stuff with her. And they were never recovered.
Okay, this is what I'm trying to figure out. So in 1991, would someone go through the trouble to have someone else, have them wear some other underwear that's not theirs to prevent being traced? I mean, because
maybe
we're
it's a fantasy
early
thing,
days
though.
of DNA.
Maybe it's a fantasy thing.
Oh,
so maybe she's dressed in perhaps she's dressed in something for a reason. Perhaps that's what first came to my mind. If she's wearing underwear that isn't hers and a bra that isn't hers, it'd be a bit bizarre that the bra fits because everyone's different shapes. So it'd be underwear. I could get. Most people could fit in the same kind of thing, but the bra would be a bit strange. Now, the other thing is that there was a lack of blood. You say about the DNA, there was a lack of blood on the blanket. So they assumed that she was killed elsewhere and then dumped in this blanket that she was wrapped in because there wasn't a lot of blood spillage onto that blanket. The killer also tried to strangle her with a necklace type object before he stabbed her. And the other thing that I find really strange is that a St. Giles Soccer Club patch was missing from Tammy's shorts.
Like it was ripped off?
Yeah. So it was taken off and it was missing from Tammy's shorts.
Oh,
now,
okay.
John Douglas, the criminal profile, obviously nearly everybody knows who John Douglas is. He wrote, he's a criminal profiler if you don't know who he is, and he wrote an article in 2012 about why killers take trophies from their victims. Now, he says that between crimes, often whilst they're targeting future victims, they pull out these trophies. And they sit back and they relive the crime over and over again in their minds. And what's interesting is that sometimes, actually quite often, they give this souvenir, particularly if it's jewelry, they give the souvenir to a family member or a significant other person in their lives. So when they actually finally commit the crime, they've got like this sense of ownership. It's a sense of like accomplishment, so that when they've done it, they feel really good about what they've done. So they have to keep it going. Do you know, it's like an athlete that just pulls out their scrapbook and shows you what they used to do. And when you do have accomplishments like that, you get a trophy usually. And for killers, taking a souvenir extends this fantasy. So when you stop, I don't know, when police officers stop a crime, they get recognized and they get, you get trophies or you get little badges or whatever you've done to do really good. Now, this is exactly the same with killers. They get to take something from the victim. They sometimes give it to the girlfriend, or they'll put it in the attic somewhere where they can go back and look at it and touch it again. And it's surprising how many killers actually return to either the scene of the crime, the grave of the person. And even John Douglas reports that even more organised and premeditated murderers sometimes even inject themselves into the police investigation to give them bogus information.
Yeah.
So they do this for different reasons, but usually he says that if you follow a case very closely, like they will be doing, they usually would keep newspaper clips of their crimes. And it's helpful to an investigator to look into somebody who has perhaps injected themselves following a case very, very closely. And if this was, say, a trucker or somebody who's traveling through regularly somewhere like that, it wouldn't be hard for him to be able to collect newspaper clippings and talk to people at a truck stop and say, oh, did you hear about that girl that went missing? Oh, yeah, So it would be very
Mm-hmm.
interesting to speak to other truckers to see if there was anybody who was behaving like that.
I'm sure there are a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, honestly, I'm not lying.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look up truck driver serial killers, there are
lots,
numerous.
yeah. It's mad though, isn't it? It's strange how, I mean, I suppose because they can move from place to place quite easily.
Yeah.
But if a guy has taken her, obviously it happens because like you say, it happens a lot. If somebody has picked her up in his truck and he's taken her, I mean, they have like those little bed bits in the back. I mean, where is he going to keep her? Just in the back there? He can't pull into a truck stop with some girl in the back of his truck, surely.
Why not?
Well, because he
Why not?
I'm just thinking about it in like, unless he like knocked her out, if he's pulled over in a wreck, he's going to have to stop and go to the toilet at some point.
Yes.
He's going to have to get, I mean, maybe he doesn't have to go and get food because he's obviously, or he might already have food in the cab. So, but he's going to have to stop to use the bathroom at some point. If she's in there, he can't like drag her out with him because people would notice.
No.
But if he leaves her in the truck and gets out, she's going to try and get out, surely.
Well, unless she can't, right? Because you got to remember some of these trucks have, are like sleeper cabs, right? Where you have a whole like little, I mean, it's not a huge area, but you have like a bed and everything in it. She could be tied up, or they could have her actually back in like the trailer part, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Where she can't get out.
But wouldn't somebody hear her? Unless she can't speak, and I just think that's a lot of trouble and a lot of worry to go to, isn't it? To have somebody in such a small confined area where other people can hear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how unusual. I mean, I'm not a trucker. I don't know how unusual. And if any of you listening are truckers or have, truckers for family members, I don't know how friendly they are at truck stops. I mean, do they pull up alongside each other, get out and chat and eat together, or do they just stay away? Is it weird to have somebody stay completely away from the next truck?
Yeah.
Because obviously, if they don't really interact very much, it wouldn't be odd that a truck driver pulled in and stayed off on his own. So it would be quite interesting to.
But you know what? And I bet you the answer is you get both, right? That's gonna be. I suppose,
yeah.
You get both. I think it's gonna be each person is a little different.
Right. Okay.
I could see a situation where someone could have someone tied up in their cab or in the trailer, and them pulling a truck stop and them acting completely normal and having conversation with other people, and people having no idea that that there's someone trapped or tied up in a semi.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
That is. I mean, so the 8th of September, Tammy's family conducted a private funeral. There wasn't lots of it. Was over like 50 people there. It wasn't a huge thing. It wasn't a massive, great big public thing. It was private. And by November, there had been very little in the way of leads on Tammy's case. And the fact that they had no strong leads, they then had an anonymous source donate $100,000 towards this reward for information to her, basically finding her. Now, after this reward had, and this always makes me really mad that after a reward is posted, all of a sudden people start coming out with tips and they start coming out with information. That really makes me cross, because I think, why didn't you come out with this before? Why not?
Yeah,
it's crazy. A woman in Illinois and some women in Wisconsin came forward with tips about this man who was pretending to be a policeman trying to pull them over on the I-80.
Okay.
But they couldn't tie anything to Tammy's murder. So, okay, yeah, that's interesting. But unfortunately, it didn't actually. They've got not that I could find. There's no other information other than it was this guy trying to be a policeman.
Okay. Here, this is my thought on this, right? So if let's say someone was pretending to be a policeman on I-80, and he happened to pick up Tammy, then she would have been found in the area of I-80.
Well, unless he took her off somewhere else and put her in his truck.
Yeah, but typically people that do that type of stuff, they are in they do it in their general area,
Yes.
the area that they
Not
live.
far from where they live.
They're not going to be, they're not going to be like, hey, I'm going to drive 500 miles away and pretend to be a police
Yeah,
officer.
that's right.
You
It
know?
would be within a certain mile radius of their home, wouldn't it? We know that from looking at profiles of killers before. So in 1994, a nurse from Springfield, Missouri, who had seen Tammy on the I-80 that day, recognized a guy called Lonnie Beerbrod. I think I'm saying that right. Lonnie Beerbrod. And he came into her clinic. Now, he was a long-haul trucker. And he lived in Missouri. He lived close to where Tammy's body was found. He grew up near where Tammy was last seen. And he also sold his car right after Tammy went missing. So straight away, a suspect that's a bit suspect. Yeah. Now, at the time of her disappearance, he worked for Kenworth Truck Company. Which was the same company as a blanket Tammy was wrapped in. Now, police couldn't tie him to the murder even after he submitted his DNA and located that vehicle that he sold. They couldn't tie him to Tammy's murder.
Okay, so if they couldn't tie based off DNA, then they do have some sort of DNA profile.
Well, that's exactly what I deduced from that. They couldn't tie him. They couldn't tie her to him because of that. Now, he served in the army before. He was a professional truck driver for about 8 years until he became disabled in 2001. Now, police then announced that they were going to be disbanding the Tammy Zywicki task force. They said that lack of progress meant that they just can't keep continuing having the same amount of officers on that case. And they dropped it from 14 officers down to 2. It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, but I understand.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. As frustrating as it is, at least they still kept 2 officers on the case.
Which year was this? What year did they disband?
So this was, let's have a look. This was not long. It was 2001, I think. Around 2001, they did that. Now, Martin McCarthy was a former investigator on Tammy's case. Now, he retired in 2001. He reached out to her mum, Joanne, and said that he wanted to help her solve Tammy's case. He believed that the police and the FBI weren't doing their job, and he felt that he now didn't have to fear retribution because he'd retired. So he didn't have to worry about his career anymore. He's gone now from the FBI. And so he then decided to step in and try and help her after he's retired and left. He suggested, there's a 2002 article that he was in, and he suggested that they were unable to accurately test Lonnie's DNA against the DNA at the crime scene because there was so little. Now, we know there wasn't a lot of blood because we already know that on the blanket that Tammy was found in, there wasn't a lot of blood on it. Now, there must have been some DNA because they actually had DNA at the scene, but it's not a lot. And they only ruled him out as a suspect because they couldn't confirm that DNA was him.
Oh, okay. I'd assume that there have to be some sort of DNA in the blanket itself.
Yeah, there must be.
As in with like skin cells or something. Okay.
So, but, however, on the 17th of June, 2002 at 1:15 p.m., Lonnie Beerbrod passed away at home in Peru, Illinois, aged 41 years old after a battle with cancer. Okay. Now, according to an article in the Courier Post, which is Camden, New Jersey, in August 23, Beerbrod was a violent felon. Now, this is August 23, 2002. They said that he was a violent felon who had served prison time for 2 armed robberies in the 80s, including an incident of armed violence. Now, he was already serving 3 concurrent 20-year terms when he was released on parole in 1990. So he has got previous for armed violence. Now, the article was written about 2 months after he died, and it said that after his release, he took a job as a driver with a small trucking firm. He lived in a trailer in Pierce City, Missouri, and they interviewed his wife, Carrie, and she said that, yes, they lived there, amongst other places, before they got divorced, and she doesn't believe that her former husband would have killed Tammy.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. She said that he wouldn't. I mean, he served time in prison, a 20-year sentence in prison for violence, armed robbery.
Yeah.
So that was in the
why
80s.
why wouldn't he? Wait, and you said he lived in Peru, Illinois, like
Yeah.
where he died?
He lived in Peru, Illinois, yeah.
Which
Which is
is
really close to where she was found.
a 30-minute
Yeah.
drive to where she was
Yeah.
found.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot that ties him to that, other than the fact that there's no physical DNA of him being there.
That's a hell of a coincidence if her body ends up, that close to where he lived.
Yeah.
Because this is not a, extremely populated part of the country.
No. I mean, she's found in a blanket that is the same name as the trucking company that he works for. She's found 30 minutes from where he lived. He's a long-haul trucker.
She was picked. Wait. She was picked up 30 minutes from where he lived.
She was picked up on the I-80, which is up. She was found. She was found right down past Springfield, down by.
Okay, you're right.
Because I looked at that, I was like, Peru? Hang on, Peru? What? And then I was like, oh, okay, it's a different Peru. That's not the same
Gotcha.
place.
Okay, so she was picked up 30 minutes from where he lived, and then dropped off. Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
so that seems strange. I think that seems very, very coincidental to me. So then we have another person that is of very interest in this case.
I said 30-minute drive. That's more like 15 minutes. Okay, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's close.
15, 30,
isn't it?
It's
close.
Close.
Yeah,
it's really close.
So we have another suspect. Now, in 2007, a long-haul trucker called Bruce Mendenhall was arrested for the murder of Sarah Hulbert. And he then was potentially tied to 11 more cases. Now, police also thought that he could be connected to Tammy's case. Bruce Mendenhall was a trucker from Illinois. So he fits her murderer's profile, because he was there. But although he actually mostly preyed on sex workers or drug addicts. Now, he's currently in prison, actually. He's still in prison. Now, according to Murderpedia, I had a look online at their site, which is a really good resource for different profiles on different killers. He was found guilty of the June 26, 2007 murder of Sarah Hulbert in Tennessee. He was charged with the murders of 3 other women at truck stops in Alabama, Indiana, and Tennessee. So I believe that he is still under investigation for murders in Georgia, Illinois, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
So not a great guy. He grew up in Crawford County, Illinois. He was married. He had 2 daughters. There were no problems with the law whatsoever. So he's got no background of bad stuff. His wife, Linda, who was reportedly blind because she had diabetes, knew that he had a gun illegally in his truck.
Yep.
His victims were primarily young prostitutes. They were usually found shot, though detectives have said that his method of killing may have changed over the years. And during questioning, he implicated himself in the shooting death of Sarah Hulbert and basically got himself into trouble. He also implicated himself on the shooting death of Samantha Winters, whose body was found June 6, 2007 in a trash can at a truck stop. Truck stops, these places, they're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
They really are. I mean, I don't know if your truck stops are like our truck stops. Our truck stops are just like a parking lot, like the side of a motorway.
Oh, no. Mm-mm. Well, no, you have different things. So you have rest stops, which are, on like where I-80 would be. They would be a rest stop where you would have, bathrooms, maybe some vending machines, stuff like that, right? But then truck stops are more like, they're gas stations, right?
Yeah.
Gas stations that have facilities for trucks, right? So trucks can fill up gas. Sometimes they'll have like showers that truckers can use.
Okay.
So things like that.
Okay. And you don't get it would only be for trucks, so cars wouldn't pull off to a truck stop for any reason.
No, they would.
Do. Okay.
They can.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they can. So they would have you can fill up your car there, but then there's also like a section for semi trucks.
Right, okay.
So you can. Now, this is what's interesting to me, and I've been thinking about this as we've been going through. And now I don't know if this was there in 1991, But right where she was picked up, there is a truck stop. It's like a Love's truck stop, right? So there would be a ton of trucks. And so this is what doesn't make sense to me. If someone is having car troubles, why wouldn't you just go to that truck stop and make a phone call or whatever, right? Like I said, I don't know if that truck stop was there in 1991.
I remember hearing that there was a truck stop there. I remember hearing that people had seen her before we talked about this case, before I looked into it. I remember vaguely something about her at a truck stop. But from everything I've read, it just sort of says she was at the side of the road. But then the thing is with this, something like this is that there's so many different people that say different things. I mean, if you go and look at web sleuths, they say one thing. If you look at other things, Reddit, they say something completely different. And and the same with like her clothes and this. And so that's where I think something like Uncovered is a really good source of information, because they check out to make sure that what people are saying is the right thing. So I think, I think that's, I mean, this guy, this Mendenhall, literally the list of the women and the murders is just, it's crazy. I mean, we've got another body of another victim he admits to murdering on July the 7th, 2007. He left her in a car at a truck stop. The body hasn't yet been found, but he has admitted to doing that. On the 28th of July, police in Birmingham, Alabama, charged him with the murder of Lucille Carter, who was found nude in a trash bin. They also believe that he could be responsible for the murders in the region, including Deborah Ann Glover, who was a prostitute, Sherry Drinkard, who was also a prostitute, Jennifer Smith, who was another prostitute. And these are all found at like either truck stops or they vanished. For like, obviously Tammy, she vanished from Interstate 80. Belinda Cartwright, a hitchhiker, she was run over at a truck stop in Georgia. Another one was Karma Pupura. She was 31. She was last seen July 11th, 2007 at a far south side Indianapolis truck stop. Again, they just keep going and keep going and keep going. This guy has got this huge, big, long list of people that he's potentially murdered that they actually can't tie him to. But it's a possibility, it could be him.
But are most of these gun victims of...
Well, a few of them are. A couple of them have been strangulation. Now, this one I told you about, the last one, this Karma Purpura, she was seen July the 11th, 2007 at this Indianapolis truck stop. Now, on the 10th of April 2008, Marion County prosecutor Carl Brizzi charged Mendenhall with murder in the case. The woman's body's never been found, but DNA tests link a large quantity of blood from his truck cab to that woman's parents. And they also found her cell phone, her ATM card, and the clothing that she wore on the day she disappeared in his truck. So, I mean, what other proof do you need?
Yeah,
they found
a
lot of blood in his cab. It links to her parents. It's got to be one of their children. And she's the only one that's missing. I mean, I just think it's crazy. I just think that there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff here, but there's nothing like linking anybody specifically to Tammy. And I find that really strange that all these people passed her, all those people passed her and saw her on the interstate. 26 people pulled over. I'd be very interested to see what these people are saying. Was there anyone else there when they pulled over, or have they pulled over one at a time 26 times? It's a very strange. I'm surprised that there's not more information from that point, to be honest. And I don't know if that's just the police aren't releasing that, or, it just seems that it just kind of stops there. Now, unfortunately, in 2016, Hank Zywicki passed away without knowing what happened to his daughter. Joanne is still alive and is still hopeful that one day they will solve the case of her daughter. But so far,
so too.
Nothing.
These ones are, you know what, out of all the cases that we do, these ones are like the toughest ones, right? Just from the standpoint of, anytime you take a body from one place to another place, it the range of potential suspects grows, right?
Yeah. Especially in a 6 hour, like nearly a 7 hour time frame, you know?
Yeah. So I think we both are in agreement that it's probably a long haul trucker,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that makes most
Mhm.
sense based off of where she was picked up, where she was dropped off. Um, it's not going to be a family on, coming home on vacation.
No, that's right. It's a long
Um,
way. It's a long way to drive down from up the top there right the way down. I mean, it's 7 hours. I mean, she's been gone for like, 10 days, and the medical examiner is saying that they predict that she's been dead at least 4 days. So the least amount of time it's going to
okay.
have been is around 4 days. I mean, this is a 7 hour trip. So has this person stopped off on the way? And I mean, I don't suppose this person has gone off and done other truck stops and done his work whilst he's still got her in the van, in the truck.
Yeah.
So is he finishing off a trip and is going home? So I mean, we're not far from Oklahoma. Oklahoma City is not very far from that. That's a big city. Kansas is not very far. And Arkansas is not very far down. So, I mean, you've got some massive, great big areas there that he could have been traveling through to be going back home.
Yeah. Okay, so this is crazy, right? So I'm just reading this right now. So in 2004, there was a initiative. It's called the Highway Serial Killer Initiative.
Right.
Began, right? And so this was started because there was analysis from the Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation, who began seeing a pattern of murdered women's bodies being dumped along I-40 in Oklahoma,
Okay.
Texas, Arkansas, and Mississippi.
Yeah.
Okay. So since then, since that started in 2004, the FBI has produced a list of nearly 750 murder victims who are found along or near U.S. highways. And from that, they have approximately 450 potential suspects in these cases, and many of them are truck drivers.
Oh my God. So am I right in thinking
And
this 40, this goes all the way across from like Nashville through Memphis, Arkansas, up to Oklahoma? That's the right road I'm looking at.
Yep.
That is
Yeah,
a
you're correct.
huge road.
Yeah. And so that's not, I mean, these 750 are not just on I-40.
No.
But so this is basically all U.S. highways.
Wow.
And so and then we know that there are at least 25 long-haul truck drivers that are in prison and that have been found guilty of being serial killers. And when we say serial killers, we're talking
multiple, yeah.
they have killed multiple people.
Yeah.
So now this is where this Tammy's case is a little different. Is most of these victims are people who you would consider high risk. So they're women who are living transient lifestyles. Yeah. They are often in situations that involve substance abuse, and they are often prostitutes. Yeah. So where Tammy differs is she is a young college student and so she is
easy picking prey, isn't she, though? She's young, she's attractive, she's blonde, she's at the side of the road with the hood of her car up. So she's in trouble. They know that she's obviously stranded there.
And I don't think from what I know of her, I don't think she is willingly jumping into a cab of a truck. No. Right? There's no need for her. If she is there, if there is actually a truck stop there and she needs help, everything that she needs is right there, right? There is a payphone that she can use. This is 1991. We're not, sure, she's not going to have a cell phone, but there's a payphone at a truck stop. There is, food and water. There's people there that can help.
That's strange, isn't it? I wonder why she didn't phone. Why didn't she phone home? I mean, would she have gone into the cab of somebody who's just said, "Look, I'll just drop you where there's a phone"?
Yeah, maybe.
It'd be interesting to have a look and see how far that truck stop would have been from where she actually was stood.
And that's the big question for me,
Mm.
right? So the location that we have of her
Yeah.
is really right there at the truck
Yeah.
stop
And that's what I said to you, because
where there'd
I
be.
think that's what I remember from this case, was that she was found at a truck stop, or she was last seen at a truck stop. But,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that is entirely true. I mean,
Now I could see. Let's say that she is, instead of being like right there at the truck stop, she is maybe a few miles away
mm,
from a truck stop,
mm,
right? Car breaks down. She's taking a look at it. We know that she had car troubles prior to that, and I'm assuming they put some oil and some water in it. So maybe that's what she's doing, and then someone sees her, stops and says, "Hey, you need some help?" And she's like, "Yeah, my car broke down." "Oh, hey, there's a truck stop,
yeah.
2 miles down the road. Hop in, and I'll take you down
But
there."
what happened to the other
And
26
then it
people that
happens to be.
stopped?
I
That's what
don't know. Do you
confuses
really
me.
think?
I don't get this
How do we know?
exactly.
That's what I don't. How do we know that 26 people
Well, that
stopped?
according to the police, that's the people that came forward to say that they stopped to help her. But I mean, 26 people stopped to see if she needed
Okay.
help. Is she going to get into the
And
cab
what'd
of a
she say? She
trucker?
said no.
Exactly. Is she going to get into the cab of a trucker rather than, say, a family that stopped to help her? You're not
Exactly.
going to,
Yeah.
are you? And I'd be interested to see how
Mm-mm.
many people of this 26 that came forward are family or women. How many
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, if I was driving down a back road and a woman was pulled over on her own with a car,
Mm.
I would be more likely to slow down and say to her, "Do you need help? Do you want to use my phone?" than I would if it was a man.
Mhm.
And I know that's really sexist, but I would feel safer stopping for a woman than I
No,
would a man.
that's fine. Yeah.
And so I wonder how many of
I
these
don't.
people that came forward would have been families, or would have been. You're not telling me every single person that stopped was a single man on his own. I don't believe that.
No. Or truck drivers. No.
No.
And what would she be like? "Oh no, no, sorry, family. I don't need help. I'm gonna go with this random truck driver."
Exactly. And that, I find that really strange, that the pure amount of people that stopped
Mhm.
to help her, not one of them could help her. That's weird. I find that weird. And we know that there was this tract. Well, they say tractor, but the picture of it is like a truck. I think it is
Yeah.
a truck. And they say that there's this truck that stops to help her, and that it's got these lines down the side of it, and that it's very,
Yeah.
it's got two brownish diagonal orange stripes on the cab and the trailer. So I look at that and I think, well, okay, that's quite distinctive.
Mhm. Are you confused why they call it a tractor?
Yeah. Why do you? Because
Is that confusing?
yeah.
That's another word for semi truck.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
so a tractor here is a totally different. That's why I'm confused. Because I'm thinking,
Yeah.
no, that's not a tractor. It's a truck.
Mhm. So okay. The tractor trailer, I guess technically a tractor trailer would be considered the whole thing. So the truck with the
Okay,
trailer,
this makes a lot more
right?
sense. Okay, that was so confusing
And
to
now
me.
a semi
Yeah.
is actually the official. It's really a semi trailer truck,
Why do you
right?
have to confuse things over there? Why do you call things the
Because
same
we're
thing?
America. We're America.
Oh
Why do we
God,
drive on a
I don't
parkway
know.
and park on a
I just
driveway?
don't know. Well, if you English people, the sensible ones, if you are looking at this, if you're looking at the truck that I'm talking about, when you look at the pictures, it is actually a truck, like our proper trucks that we have. This semi-automatic, whatever they call it, semi-truck.
Semi
Yeah,
truck.
so
Yep.
it's a white background. The stripes are brownish orange, like a rusty color. And there's a faded area that they believe had the company logo or the company name on it. So this sounds to me like it would be part of a fleet. So when you look at the back of the truck, I'll post the pictures
Yeah.
on our Instagram so you can have a look. There's two diagonal lines that go up here, and then the center of these diagonal lines, there's this like faded area. So that is where police think could have been the logo of this thing. I mean, surely it can't be that hard to find a truck that looks like that.
No, and they said so the actual truck and the trailer both had the stripes
Yeah,
on it.
I'll send you a picture of it so you can see it.
Oh,
Let's send it over to you. Here, look.
that would definitely be that's definitely be a fleet then, because it wouldn't be a situation
I've just
where
sent it to you so you
it's
can see
just
it.
it's not a situation where a truck is Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that looks to me like a branding, a logo branding, like a truck
Yeah.
branding.
So it's not like a guy who's just picking up a random
Yeah,
trailer
yeah.
and a
They
nondescript trailer and
match.
then taking it
Mm.
to it. Huh.
And that was the truck that was reported to be seen with Tammy. Now, I would be interested to see whether the guy who was talking earlier, or I talked about earlier, who said that his friend Jerry, or his truck friend Jerry, picked her up. I'd be
Yes.
interested to see if that is the same truck. Because he doesn't mention anything about Jerry's truck. He just says that he met this guy at a truck stop and was talking to her, and he was talking on the CB and told him that I've picked her up and everything's fine. So
Hmm.
where did Jerry take her, and who's Jerry? What truck was he driving?
Okay, I don't know if this was if we talked about this or if you brought this
Mm.
up at all. So okay, and I'm rewinding a little
Mhm.
bit here. So she leaves her friend's place at
Yeah.
Northwestern, so Evanston,
Yeah.
Illinois, around noon.
Yes.
Okay, and what time did her car break
So
down? Do we happen to know that?
witnesses say it's around 3 p.m., between 3 and 4 p.m. That seems
So
to be
around
where the most
3 to 4
mm.
p.m. Okay. Okay. And see, okay, so my question would be, are these tips that are coming in, so this person that's like, yeah, some guy named Jerry said that she's okay or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Okay, so my question would be, what time would that be?
Okay. Now, this was
So is that
later, because all of these people are saying that they've seen her between 3 and 4. All of these witnesses say between 3 and 4,
yes?
they see the white Pontiac pulled over on the I-80. So this truck driver, this Robert Bullington, he says he saw Tammy get into the cab of this fellow truck driver, this Jerry, earlier in the day at a truck stop. Now, he says that this interaction took place much later than any of the other witnesses placed Tammy on that shoulder of the motorway or the interstate.
So if this happened much
Mm.
later, okay, and she's at a truck stop, why didn't she make any phone
Yeah,
calls?
exactly.
I don't think this Jerry is a I don't think this Jerry is a good suspect.
No.
Now, what about this guy who's trying to pass it off on
Yes,
Jerry?
that's exactly what I thought. What about this Robert? He says he met this guy, this
Mhm.
Jerry, at this truck stop earlier in the day. He then says they carried on talking via CB. They both saw Tammy at the side of the road. Jerry stopped and then let Robert know,
Mm.
that she was okay. Robert carried on going, but remembered when he saw the missing posters later on that that Jerry had stopped for her.
And he's okay, and this was at 1 a.m. So Tammy would have been in this area
Yeah.
at this truck stop for 8 hours at least,
Yeah.
right?
Which is why I don't think,
And
yeah.
she never once made a phone call.
Yeah. This doesn't sound very good to me, this.
No.
So who is this
So
Robert?
why would he yeah, exactly. And why is he
Mm.
because that's a firm statement,
Yeah,
right?
they actually saw him get
I
into
saw
a truck.
Tammy
Yeah.
I saw Tammy get into a truck with a guy I met earlier in the day named Jerry. Here's the other thing too is what okay, at 1 a.m., uh, there are rules and regulations about,
Yeah.
drivers and how long they can drive
Of
each
course,
day
they
and
have the
stuff.
tachograph things, don't they?
Yeah, so are they really hopping in at 1 a.m. and taking off at 1 a.m.? I guess
Mm.
possibly? I don't know. I don't like this one. I don't
In
like
this case, I mean, obviously those most people that came forward are all saying it was between 3 and 4 that they saw her. So I would say
Mhm.
collectively there's more likelihood that that is true, that it's between 3 and 4, because it's different people that don't know each other. They've got no agendas to come forward and say, yes, I saw her
Yep.
there. Independently, they're all saying
Mhm.
between 3 and 4. This guy, and remember I spoke to you about John Douglas, who said that sometimes people inject themselves into a case and give bogus information.
Yes.
I'm wondering whether this is a case like that. Could this be that this guy is giving this information not 100% correct? Could it be that?
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Yeah, I think so.
1992. So we're not talking like 1970 something. It's not that long ago, So there's got to be people who remember that case. There's got to be people that remember seeing that girl on the side of the road that later were found out that she died. There's got to be people that remember that. So I think that what needs to happen in this case is they need to go back over those police files. They need to go back over the names of the people that came forward. And I think they need to look into this more, because at the moment, nobody's giving anything firm. And I don't understand why 26 people have stopped to help her, yet not one of them has actually helped her. I don't understand that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, this Robert Bullington is like, yeah. I'm stuck on him now.
I wonder if, I'm wondering if John Douglas is a little bit correct in this. I mean, obviously, I haven't consulted John Douglas on this. Let me just say that. But from reading his explanations of serial killers, and why they do certain things and why they act in certain ways, straight away, this Robert Bullington comes to me to make me think, okay,
yeah,
perhaps he needs a little bit more looking into.
I agree, and because I think we can say, well, not for certain, his story's not adding.
No. And collectively, those people that have seen her between 3 and 4, collectively, their stories are all the same.
I would believe that 26 people stopped to ask if she needed help, more so than I believe Robert Bullington saw her getting into some guy named Jerry's truck at 1 a.m.
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
And I'd be interested to see what police got out of Robert Bullington. Did they get out of him what truck Jerry drove? What does Jerry look like? Where was he going? All we know is that he said Jerry had Nebraska plates, but he remembers nothing else about him. But you remember he's got Nebraska plates.
What kind of truck did Robert Bullington drive?
Well, exactly. I wonder what sort of truck he drove. And he says that he carried on driving and that this Jerry pulled over to help Tammy. So that's interesting to me. That's very strange to me. So, I mean, there might be somebody's listening and is screaming into their earphones saying, like, why don't you mention this? Or why haven't you thought of this? So if there is anything that we've not mentioned that you are thinking about, let us know. Give us a message on our Instagram or Facebook or wherever you want to. We've had a few people that have given us some anonymous messages that we've looked through a few things. The other thing I think is if there's any information that you can find out, then we've got the sources for you to be able to report tips anonymously, which is nothing to do with us. So you don't have to give us your name or anything. There's a petition that you can sign to help take action this is for Illinois State Police. And this is to upgrade Tammy's case. You can also go onto Facebook. There is a group on Facebook which is like Who Killed Tammy Zywicki. You can go and have a look at that one as well. There's another thing. Did you see anything? Were you on the I-80 in Illinois on the 23rd of August 1992, or were you on the I-44 in Missouri around September? Were you in that area? You can share anything you want to, with the police as well. And it'd be really nice to finally give Tammy's mum at least some more hope. If we can't give her an outcome straight away, it would be nice to give her some more hope as to, finding her daughter. Now you can also phone if you are more inclined to phone. There's a Who Killed Tammy Zywicki tip line, and that is 815-726-6377. Or you can call Chicago FBI, which is 312-421-6700, if you want to do that too. So, yes.
Well, thank you very much.
So thanks to the guys at Uncovered for helping us out with the information for this week's case. That's the Tammy Zywicki case.
Very good. Very frustrating.
Really,
like all of them.
And again, like all of them, there's so many questions. And reading through the information that we have got, again, like we did when we were with Breckenridge, and you sit there with like loads of pieces of paper all over the table, and you're like, well, what about that? And what about that? And how does that correlate with that? And why hasn't that been asked? And why? And I don't like to say, that the police are not doing everything they can, but like this week personally, I've had a case where the police have been so frustrating and not done their jobs properly. And I wonder if in this case, precious time has been lost because of the beginning of this, where it was like, she's a runaway. She's probably gone off with her boyfriend, even though her mum said she hasn't got a boyfriend. This is really unlike her. She's disappeared. No one knows where she is. We're really worried. Surely when a family comes forward to you to say stuff like that, surely I just don't understand how it can be dismissed like that. Maybe a police officer will tell me different, but I just don't understand how you can dismiss a missing girl on her own who was just going back to college. She was traveling with her brother. Surely her brother would have noticed if she was planning on leaving. So I just find that maybe the police could have done more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's always things. There's always things when you go back and you look. Just a little bit more could have been done.
Yeah.
And maybe this, maybe it could have been solved. So
I do understand why when people go missing, they do leave it for a while. But in this case, I just think this is really strange.
It is. Absolutely.
So yes, thank you for joining us this week. Don't forget to check out our social pages and check out our new merch that Morgan's been working on. And yeah, that would be that. So have you got a dumb criminal for us this week?
I do have one for you. So how about we get the captain out and let's do our dumb criminal.
Hey, dum head, you's a real jackass.
All right, Cherry. So for this week, we are going out to Snowmass, Colorado. All right.
Okay.
So, Cherry, when you are released from prison because of the COVID-19 pandemic, there's many things you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna be on probation. You're gonna have to check in, or not probation. You're gonna be on parole. You're gonna check in with your check in, make sure you're on the up and up. One of those things that you shouldn't do is email the chief of police of Snowmass Village and threaten them.
No, that would be something you definitely don't want to do.
You don't. Okay, so Jeremiah Casper had been incarcerated for stealing meat and alcohol from a Snowmass Village hotel. Okay. So this was in 2018.
Okay.
So he was sentenced for I believe 2.5 years on that.
Okay.
When he was released because of COVID-19 and was put on parole, he went ahead and got himself drunk and started emailing threats to the police chief of Snowmass Village.
As you do.
Now, he would end up sending more than 30 emails.
What?
To the chief of police.
Oh my God. What a silly ass.
And for that, he was sent back to prison to finish his 2.5 years sentence for burglary and theft. And he is then going to be spending another 4 years behind bars for felony stalking and misdemeanor harassment in connection to these 30 plus emails that he sent to Snowmass Village Police Chief Brian Olson.
How often is it that you get hey, we're letting you out of prison early? Like, there's a huge pandemic. We're going to let you out because you're not considered high risk. We need the spaces in jail. Off you go. Start your life again. And the first thing you do is get drunk and go and email and harass him. Just
The police chief.
Police. Come on.
You don't say, "Hey, police chief, I'm sorry I stole some alcohol and
Thank
food
you for
from a
letting me out
hotel,
early."
but thank you for letting me out. I appreciate it." No, you say, "Hey, I hate you. I'm going to find you and your family and I'm going to do bad things to you."
What a silly
No.
man. What an idiot. And then what happens? He goes back to jail.
He goes back to
What an
jail.
idiot.
Oh,
He is a
no.
dumb head. You're right.
Just don't do
Don't
that.
do that. Don't do stupid things, dumb criminals. Just don't do it. Oh, thank you for that. So yes, thank you for joining us this week. We will be back next week with another episode. Next week will be Morgan's episode, and he will be entertaining us with all different kind of things. And we will see you on Insta, I guess, on Insta and on our socials. That's usually where you'll find us. So for now, be nice.
And bye.
That was a long one.